Franchón Crews-Dezurn had a successful amateur boxing career where she represented the United States internationally. And as a pro boxer, she is the current unified super middleweight world champion. We discuss how boxing politics and the loss of her mother didn't deter her from pursuing her dreams. Life as a boxer ain't easy, and Franchon joins Peaks and Valleys to talk about it right now.
They say it is the darkest before the dawn. But what do you do before the dawn comes when all you have is candles and night lights guiding your path until morning, until your sight is restored and you can see your way out, your way through, your way to the other side? You push with all your might until the day breaks and your victory comes. This is Peaks and Valleys with TK Trinidad.
Welcome, guys. I am so excited. No shade to my male athletes who've been on the show, but I love having female athletes, especially boxers. She is the Renaissance woman herself, the current unified super middleweight world champion. Please welcome Franchon Crews-Dezurn. Did I get it? Yes. I'm working on names, y'all. But thank you for joining. Thank you for joining Peaks and Valleys.
No, thank you for having me. And shout out to you for making time. What's funny is I was told 5 p.m., but not my time. It was your time. So, yeah, that was really cool.
That happens a lot, and I always forget, always to double check. So,
It's
it's something.
fundamental.
It's
It's not you.
yeah, it's just kind of crazy sometimes. But for my folks out there, this Peaks and Valleys is not an interview show. So if you want to get the breakdown, she has a Wikipedia page. That's always great. You can Google, get all the logistics and stuff like that. Just trust me, trust and believe she is absolutely amazing. And I kind of just want to get in beyond being an athlete because, especially when you're at the top of your game, people just want to put you in this athletic box. It's like, all right, well, she's an athlete and this is all she's about. So, give me a time in your life when, stuff got real and you didn't know, you know, it like this was a path for you.
So, I think it's rightfully so, being as this is the Olympic time. We have the 2020/21 Olympics coming within the next month. And I'm a Team USA alumni for over 12 years. I was on the first ever women's boxing Pan American team in 2011. And I was part of the first 24 women boxers who ever competed in the Olympic trials to go to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my valley points was actually transitioning from the amateurs to the professionals. I was the top seed, the big boss at super middleweight in the amateurs. Like, I was prone to go to the Olympics, and that didn't happen for me. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who Clarissa Shields is. She's also a very talented female boxer who's doing amazing stuff. Um, she basically had to go through me to get to that top spot, and she took it in
Mm-hmm.
with it. Being in the top spot and not being there anymore was like a pressure within itself. It's like, you've been dominant for so many years and for such a long time. It's like, where do you go now? Because I wasn't used to losing, so I had to basically rebuild my confidence, rebuild my brand, and figure out, like, hey, is this what I really wanted to do? So that all
Mm-hmm.
2012. Um, and after that, after I lost at the Olympic trials, I actually went on and went to the world team trials, and I came back and won a world silver medal at a weight class above. So that was
Nice.
something to get me going. So I'll say, you know what? I didn't get it 2012. I'm going to go for 2016 Olympics. And that was a roller coaster ride, because I still had to break through that wall, people trying to write me off. And I had a great showing. And at this time, it wasn't even anything with my skill. I was such a force to be reckoned with that I had politics come into play. Now, when you speak
Mm.
about athletics, even though it's usually the strong survive and the best always win, it's a lot of politics, especially in boxing, because it's still a business. So once again, you know, giving my heart, my soul, my blood, sweats, and tears for my goal, and to be robbed of it. Now, if I would have just like lost and knew that I didn't bring my best, knew that it was somebody better than me, then I would be okay. But I was literally robbed to the point the defending Olympic champion even noticed it and gave me respect and said, you know, you won your fight, the other person lost. And that was one thing that kind of helped me get through, because I'm like, respect is everything. You know what I'm saying? You can win things, but to be the best, you got to beat the best. And at that time, I had one of the best telling me, like, you're the best too, you know? And they saw what was going on. So I just was like, okay, this is 2016. So I missed 2 Olympics now. So I said, okay, I'm going to go for 2020, you know, because I'm relentless. Like, if I want something, I'll go for it. I will turn that no into a yes very quickly. So, probably around October of 2018, I was preparing to go into camp and get ready for December to go to the Nationals to make Team USA again. And I get a call from Clarissa Shields' people. Now, at this point, she went and won 2 Olympic gold medals. I had also went again to the World Team Trials, and I got a bronze this time. They called me like 2 weeks beforehand. I went out there in the Worlds, and I got a bronze. So they said, hey, she's going pro. And mind you, I'm sitting on the couch. I still have a couple months before I start training for my fight. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it was like, nobody wants to fight her. Apparently, 13 girls turned her down to go professional with. And usually when you go pro, you get like a soft touch. You know, somebody you know you're supposed to beat.
Right.
So this was a pivotal moment. It's like, okay, I'm still in that valley that we talked about. And I'm still unfulfilled because I'm always going to be competitive. I know that I'm one of the best. I know I'm the best I can be, you know? So basically, I was asked to fight Clarissa Shields, my first pro fight. And it was her first pro fight. And this is profound. This is unheard of, male or female. And I just looked at my husband. I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? I have everything to gain. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm sitting on the couch. And even though I love boxing in the amateurs and I still wanted to go to the Olympics, it was becoming redundant, you know? So I just said, okay, whatever. And I had less than 2 weeks to prepare to go professional in Las Vegas on Andre Ward and Kovalev's undercard. So it wasn't just like some smoker or some clubhouse boxing show. This was a big deal because Andre Ward is a legend, and to fight on his undercard for females, and I already knew what it was going into. I didn't have, an allotted time to get ready. So I just got to the best of my ability. I knew that I was going against a 2-time Olympian who her job was to win. It was like, if I didn't knock her out, I already knew I wasn't going to get a decision. So it was like, what do you do? Are you going to bet on yourself? And I'm never going into any situation to lose. And she knew that. And we already talked, the crazy part, we talked about it. And I respect her so much because we both were like, we're crazy. What are we doing? But in the bigger picture, our sport was growing. We were at a point for our sport, women's boxing, to be seen on such a huge platform. Yes, her journey started coming through, her journey started when she came through me and became the top dog. So it's like, no. Of course, I felt some type of way. That's just me. It's like, you're going to get mad or you're going to get motivated. So,
ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's the truth. So we talked about it, and I said, look, we're going to take this one for women's boxing. And it definitely elevated both of us. And it gave us the confidence to keep pursuing the professional ranks. Like, we both were confident women going into it. But to have 2 Olympic caliber fighters going professional in our first fight, it's like, look, if we can get through that, we can beat all these other girls out here. You know what I mean? So in retrospect, I lost my first pro fight. So I'm coming into the professional game 0-1.
Right.
You can YouTube the fight. It was a great competitive fight. It was really an exciting 4-round fight. So that was, I think, November 19th, 2018. And 2 weeks later, my mom got sick. She was already battling chronic kidney disease and all these other, and she's part of my journey as a boxer as well. I've had a motto: she fights to live, I fight to win. We've been in plenty of life or death situations. And 2 weeks after I went professional, uh, I guess she got to see me, and then December 7th, she passed away. So basically, 2 weeks after I went pro, my mom died on me.
Whew.
Yeah. So it's like, goodness, like,
okay.
Now this valley, I'm like, okay, yeah,
This
my record, but I just lost my mom. Like, what the F am I gonna do? Like, I was stuck, literally stuck. She passed December 7th. I couldn't work. I couldn't work out. I couldn't do anything. I was stuck for almost a month. I really was stuck. So December 31st, with my support team, my husband and everything, I danced my pain away. I acknowledged, like, she's gone. What am I going to do? Once again, get mad or get motivated? How can I honor her legacy and continue to build mine? Am I going to give up because things got hard, or am I going to use that to drive me? Like, my mom used to work plenty of jobs. Like, we used to live in an attic, but I didn't know we were struggling because the wherever we were, it was filled with love. So my mom always made everything okay. So I just said, look, I'm not going to let her life be in vain. I had no promoter. I had no manager. I had no sponsors. I had no nothing. And then November 2019, I became a world champion. After I went through some, bad contracts that I negotiated myself out of, I bet on myself, and I managed myself into a world title fight, and I became a world champion.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. Whew, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So, boxing, and, just from the people that I know who are in the boxing arena, it's just like there's still a lot more politics than there is in a lot of sports. And when you're dealing with that, or when you were dealing with that, like the politics before you turned pro, like what did you do to keep going? Like, is it like the strength of your mom? Was it religion? Like, I feel like people who kind of push themselves past the pain and past the BS, they have to be a certain type of individual, and it starts very young. So what kind of, despite the BS and the politics in boxing, kind of what kept you going and not quitting?
One, my mom, when she was alive and in her passing, her transition. Two, I was never used to losing. Like, I'm very resilient. I'm very persistent. Even as a kid, if I want something, like, if I don't know how to do it, I'll teach myself how to do it. So if I'm gonna find a way. How do they say it's more than one way to skin a cat? You find a way, and for me, I just knew, like, I knew in my heart that I'm capable. I know I'm good enough. I know I have the ability to do it. It's just, am I going to push myself to that limit, or am I just going to give up, And as a fighter, you can ask any other professional fighters or other really good fighters, ask them, like, they know when they lose and they know when they win. Even if I don't get a decision, I know in my heart that I won that fight. I've just always kind of been a loner, and I just have to push myself. I have to motivate myself. And I wasn't content with my position. It's like I've experienced so much. I was traveling the world before I was 21. So it's like, if I stop, I'm going to go back to regular. And I wasn't born to be regular. I wasn't
Mm.
born ordinary. I'm extraordinary, you know?
So now also just touching on, because I lost my grandmother a year ago, and she was like there for like birth. Like,
Yeah.
so I can only imagine, you know, your mother. So how did you, oh, like I'm gonna make myself tear up. How did you like bounce back? Because like for me, it felt like even though you know they're in a better place and you kind of do the positive, it's like there's a part of you that's like missing and that's gone and like you won't get it back. And
Yeah.
like putting that into sport and continuing on, like what did you like do?
I still battle today. Like I battle depression. I When things get hard for me, or I'm still navigating adulthood. I'm in my prime years. I'm getting coming into my prime. I consider myself a grown woman. Boxing has kept me disciplined in a lot of ways. Like I haven't experienced like these 20-year-olds these days. They're way more experienced in a lot of things than I am because at that age I was boxing. I wasn't able to do some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking about this today. The pain of literally, I watched my mom. I was there. I took her off life support. I had to balance all these
Mm.
things and make these tough decisions and see her out. My husband was my rock, Glenn. It was hard. I ran out the room and he's like, look, she saw you in this world. You need to see her out. Like we soldiers.
Mm.
And one of my mom's mottos was to keep it moving. I never saw her cry through her illness. I never saw her feel sorry for herself. When she was healthy working, when she was sick on dialysis, when she fell, when she's in the hospital dealing with all these things, I never saw her complain. Her motto was to keep it moving. So I just really took that to heart. Like
Mm-hmm.
when the heart monitor went down and the number 53 came and it just kept going down and I knew it was over. I saw one tear drop from my eyes. I don't know if that was a involuntary thing or if that
Mm-hmm.
was her goodbye. Like, you know, I remember all the smells, everything, and that was the longest walk. Like her house was probably 4 or 5 blocks from the hospital, and that was the longest walk I've ever
Mm.
had in the rain at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was just like I had an out of body experience, honestly, and I really had to figure out what you're gonna do. And it's okay to slow down. It's not okay to
Right.
stop. So from that time until December 31st, I wallowed in my sorrow and did what I had to do. And I said, look, it's time to level up. And at that time, I was broke. Like I had $10 to my name in my bank account, and I was dealing with life issues as well. But
Right.
hey, look, I got to make it happen. I gotta keep it moving, you know?
Whew. Okay. So let's talk about, man, like you are just so strong, like you're so motivational. So let's
Thank
talk about now your first pro match. You had 2 weeks to prepare. And it's because it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, how long does your training camp have? Is it like 17 weeks? How long is your training camp
A
typically?
good one is like 8 to 12 weeks. Like imagine you sitting where you're at work, right? Doing your job, what you're doing now, and they
Mhm.
call, hey, you want to fight for a world title? It's 2 weeks. Huh? Look, let me put this bear claw down. And oh shoot, you start thinking about all the stuff you've been doing beforehand. But yeah, a good training camp, especially for that kind of fight. Like she's the best in the world. Basically, all eyes was on her for that
Mhm.
fight. The whole world was watching, and I was just like, okay, whatever.
So what like what I mean obviously this you've been doing it for years so it's not like new but what like just being on that stage like what did you tell yourself in the 2 weeks leading up to it? Like, how did you motivate? I'm guessing that you had to like triple or double the effort or try to. So what did you tell yourself in that process getting ready?
I was overweight, number one. Like I wasn't at my fight weight. So that was one battle in itself. I asked my coach, who's also like a world renowned trainer, his name's Barry Hunter, and my team. And he didn't really want me to take the fight because he's adamant. He don't like to lose, you know what I mean? But he
Mm-hmm.
believed me. And I said, that's all I need. I asked my husband, I know he gonna ride and they know what I can do. So even to being there with a elite athlete like Clarissa, be able to hold my own for 4 rounds and push myself and push her really speaks to my character and my ability with 2 weeks, you know? Um, it was tough. It was tough. And it's like, damn, I already signed a contract, you know? And I just hold myself to a standard. My word is my bond. If I say I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
something, do it. And a couple of other things I've done that kind of release my inhibitions, like for my mom, uh, the National Kidney Foundation, I would work with them, and they had this thing where you basically rappelled off a building. So I've rappelled 20 stories off the side of a hotel. So it's like, if I could do that, a fight ain't nothing. Like, you know,
Damn. Okay. All
yeah,
right.
I live on
Wow.
the edge.
What would you say to somebody who's currently in their valley in one sentence? What would you say to motivate them?
You're already at the bottom. It's nowhere to go but up. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
I guess let's just touch on this before we get out of here. Um, I feel, and this is coming from a boxing novice. Like I wish I had time to cover every sport that I love, but I feel that um, female boxing doesn't get enough attention like it
Oh,
should.
not at all.
And it feels like, there's like these blips, like, you had Layla Ali, etc. And then it's just like, oh yeah, they're here. So one, what do you think, I guess, the problem is? And then two, how can, we as a society improve it?
Well, I think a lot of people get stuck on one thing. Um, in my case, like you have a Clarissa who's doing amazing things, and people think because we're two women of color, we're two badasses. Oh, if I like Clarissa, I can't like Franchon. If I like Franchon, I can't like her. You know, and it's
Mm,
like we do. Honestly, even though we're both female boxers, we have two different lanes. Like I'm basically like if Beyonce and Serena had a love child or something, you know, because I love entertainment, I sing, I do all these other things, fashion, and
mm-hmm,
I feel like people should just support all of them. You have another girl, Katie Taylor. She's popping in Ireland, but they just get stuck. And of course, you have to have the face of the sport. But damn, we could switch up some faces. And it's just also reaching out to other sports. Like we should watch more female basketball. We should watch the female football. It's just we all have to come together and use our network to move each other. And the two biggest components is one, the fans giving women a chance, and that's growing for sure. But having our male counterparts promote us as well. Like
mm.
come to fights, post us on their page, talk us up, you know, just support. Support. Because we sure spend our coins to go see them fight. They should come out to our fights too.
I like it. And then last question. I always say this is the last question, but this is the official last question. With the celebrity boxing that's going on, you had Floyd and I think it's Logan Paul. I get the Paul brothers mixed up, so my bad in advance. Do you think that's helping or hurting the sport of boxing?
Well, the platform I was going to fight on, which was Triller, and they put on a huge card with the Paul brother. It is a bit offensive, but as they say, uh, any publicity is good publicity. Having myself and other talented real boxers on these cards on these platforms will definitely bring bring a new audience to us. So it's all in how you shape it. It's basically turning negative into a positive. Just incorporating real fighters in these celebrity matches, because the same way they whitewash history, they can whitewash what boxing really is and have people who are casual fans really thinking this is how fights go. And it's the case, you know what I'm saying? So definitely having legitimate fighters on these cards involved can turn it into a positive for sure.
Whew. Man, we got a lot done in like less than 30 minutes. That's thank you so much. Yeah, you have like, you had a fan, like a watching, like active fan, but now you have a super fan. Like, your story is incredible, and I know there's just more to come. So thank you for sure.
You keep doing things too. I love it.
Thank you so much, Franchón Crews-Dezurn.
Yes, ma'am. They call me the heavy hitting diva. So if you ever feel like not saying it, call me the heavy hitting diva. I got you.
Boom. There it is. Thank you so much for joining. And I can't wait to see the rest of 2021, 2022 be knocking. I don't want to see the B word, but knocking some chicks out.
Undisputed. So just look out for that.
Thank you so much.
Peaks and Valleys is produced by Josh Rodriguez and TKO Productions. Spoken word and voiceover is done by yours truly, Lem Gonzalez. Thank you for listening, and remember, after the darkness comes the dawn.